But we're going to do a stock report,
I
ladies
need like
and gentlemen.
a pin or something to go on the side. You know how they would have the pin, and it was sometimes they would have certain things written on the hat. I think I need to soup up the hat a little bit too.
Well, that's like, you remember, I think I brought this up on the show once. You ever seen the Making the Band Chappelle show episode where he's like, you're just going to sit there and do your taxes, Ness? And he's got the printer and the visor and all that going on at the same time.
Yeah.
So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, it's tax season.
It's tax season. Stock report, man.
Who's up first, Devon? You get to pick. It's your first segment, so you'd say stock up or stock down on who, what? Obviously, the defense is down. That's
well established. Well established. Let's go stock up, stock down on DeAnthony Melton. How about DeAnthony Melton? We start up with DeAnthony Melton.
You want to take that, Derek?
I think I'd go pretty flat, if I'm being honest. I'll go slightly up because he continues. Which one is?
That's down. There you go.
There you go.
Slightly, but it's like a very slight up. Like he's pretty much playing like he was before. I feel like we gave him a stock up not too long ago when he was shooting the shit out of the ball. He's still playing pretty well. He's not playing quite as well, but he's, we talked about a little bit with the defense where he can struggle to get through screens at times. His shooting has been good lately, but not as good as it previously was. But he's not playing poorly for sure. He's giving them a lift.
So I don't know if you guys caught this after the game last night. I will agree with Derek. Stock up. If he wants to hand me the sign, I can wave it around like a circus animal.
I think one person raising the sign.
Look at that. Yeah. Stock up on DeAnthony Melton. Like we're on Mad Money with Jim Cramer. I think with DeAnthony, Tyrese last night after the game was essentially throwing a parade that DeAnthony made some layups. Like, oh my God, my dog made some layups. Like he can hit his free throws and make his threes, but just imagine if this guy can make layups. And that kind of says it all, right? Like I know that's a running joke on the show all the time. I do think, and we've gotten into this a little bit this week, Devon, that ideal world, DeAnthony is a 6th, 7th guy coming off the bench with Kelly Oubre, making a spark. And I think that would be what part of the value of making one of these trades to upgrade the team is putting him in a role that I think naturally suits him better.
But I think part of that is also like, maybe he can be a starter, sure. But like the previous 2 games when Joe was out, when Maxey missed one of them, and he was shooting 19 times per, that's not his role. That's not what he's going to succeed in. The previous game, 10 shots, 19 points, 2 for 5 from 3, 7 for 7 from the line. That's kind of the Anthony you want. Regardless of whether or not it's in a starting lineup, he only played 27 minutes. That is fine. The previous, leading into that, he was just a little overtaxed than he should be.
Okay. And I'm looking at one right here. Jay Bart on the chat says Melton flat. He's with you, Derek, in the beginning. Flat. Sorry, bench player.
Kyle forced me to sort of like raise one of the two, so fine. But I probably would have said flat.
Listen, we got to prognosticate for the people, man. They come to us for important player financial advice.
But prognostication could be he's playing flat. Like that's fine.
That's boring.
I'll give him a tad of a stock up on that one. I'll give him a tad on the stock up, especially like finishing at the rim, to your point, and even coming back from, being probable, but dealing with the sickness and still playing pretty well last night after, most importantly, not getting off to a great start in the early minutes. And Kyle and I looking at each other and Derek like, might be one of those rough nights where he needs some chocolate milk or something because to get that boost of energy because it just simply wasn't there. And then he turned it up, finishing with 19, knocked down a couple of threes, finishing in transition. They had a great 2-man fast break where Maxey was in the middle of the floor, underhand scoop, didn't even put the ball on the floor, right to Melton and finishing at the rim. I actually thought Melton was going to give it right back to Maxey because it just seemed like a better fast break. But no, he kept it and just finished at the rim. So I like it. I'll go stock up on that. Let's go back to the bench real quick. And I'm not going Marcus Morris, folks, as much as you might want me to.
Oh, because that'd be the easiest answer ever for me.
One. So really, if we do go Marcus Morris, I want to ask Devon that just so we can get him on the record.
Okay.
Since that's his boy.
All right, but I'm not going there, so you're not setting me up. We're going to, because of his hot shooting on Friday, and he continued with that play last night with some step-back threes as well. Patrick Beverley, stock up, stock down.
Not step-back threes, that's plural, a step-back three.
I saw 2.
I'll give him a stock up because that was probably the best game of Patrick Beverley's career against the Boston Celtics last week. I thought, and I said it on the post-game show, I thought Tobias Harris specifically let him down. You cannot waste a performance from Pat Bev.
I think you spent about 20 minutes straight talking about how Tobias Harris let him down.
I felt like I was a member of Pat Bev's family. Like, what the hell happened here, Tobias? Like, you let our guy down. Like, I'm just going stark raving mad on the show. But yeah, I think, set aside the 3-point shooting. That's going to be volatile. I think he's shown enough confidence from there. I've talked to Devon about that a lot off the show, that I just want him to be confident and step into threes and make teams pay for thinking, oh, we'll just ignore this guy because he's not going to take the shot, let alone make it. I think that's important for him. But I also think he's shown some better probing of defenses, some good off the dribble moments, like getting by a closeout. I compared it to loading up a trebuchet against the Celtics. That sometimes it's been a little bit slow, and he's actually used that to his advantage. He's waiting until guys get there, and then that slow load up turns into 1 or 2 dribbles, gets to the free throw line, and either has
the
a
push
floater
shot.
attempt. The push shot is probably a more accurate way of putting that. Or he can quick kick out. Somebody's got a better shooter, has got a more open three. So I've been happier with him lately. It's taken me a little bit off of they desperately need a backup ball handler island, but I
saw you got last night.
I'm still there.
I still, in my heart of hearts, think they need an upgrade there. But I think if you were to get that guy, I now have more confidence that Pat can be. I don't want to call him a 2-guard, but he can be that second guard on the floor and do some interesting things from that spot.
So the results of the first one, 100% for DeAnthony Melton. And Bree put that up there in the chat area for everybody to vote. And we'll see what the ultimate number is for Pat Bev. I'm also stock up on Pat Beverly because early on he showed some decent splashes there in certain games, but more often than not, it was more of I still need a second ball handler because DeAnthony Melton certainly isn't that. Pat Beverly is not showing enough. And then all of a sudden, the uptick just went boom. And it's not only offensively, it's defensively again, where he's back to being that engaged guy. When you talk about probing, not just the middle of it, it's more even when he goes on the baseline.
Yes.
And he's probing. If it's not there, if it's not a dump off in the middle for somebody to finish or a layup opportunity for him, the one-handed layup that he just picks up, goes right up, which is a good shot, kick into the corner, whatever. He just keeps his dribble, doesn't give up his dribble to allow himself to get caught on the baseline, trapped, bad turnover. He's doing everything right now. So I would say stock up for Patrick Beverley at the moment. And give one final one? Can I give one final one?
Sure, yeah.
I wasn't going to ask you guys if I can go coach, but I won't.
I think we did that recently, didn't we?
I think last week we talked.
Did that
we
one.
actually gave him a bit of a stock down for. I mean, it was mostly the defensive stuff we're talking about today, where we've been super impressed with what he's done on offense. But when you're 25th in defense for a month, that's.
By the way, Pat Bev, 85% stock up, 14 down. Thank you, Bree.
Honestly, I would have thought Bev would have been pretty much unanimous because it was the game of his life, and I thought Melton would be a little.
He also had a great game against the Lakers recently too. He's had some real good ones.
I thought Melton would have been a little more mixed because he had 2 games where he was shooting like 35%. I'm a little surprised by the results, honestly.
Okay, the chat is asking for it, Devon, and I'm just going to pass you the sign in advance for Marcus Morris. Here we go, Marcus Morris, stock down. But you have to hold it, just touch it, even if it's just a finger.
545.
Sorry to block you out there.
Says I'm going there, Devon. No, Marcus Morris.
And by the way,
stock report, please.
We just gave him a stock up last week.
We did.
You did.
It was we admitted it was a penny stock, so there was a lot of room up to go. He only went up a little bit, but he has already come back down.
I think my last one is more because I want to hear what the people think. I know what you guys think, but I want to see some of the chat too. Just maybe some more people.
We've had some spirited Marcus Morris debate in the chat. He has his defenders for sure.
He does.
He is a Philly guy. Like there's some local pride behind this for sure.
I've seen the Philly fans attack him too. So it's not unanimous
and
in that way.
And he does legitimately have offensive skill.
He does.
He certainly does.
And more so, I think the more consensus is, I wish they would have, if it was 3-4 years ago, you would have been perfectly fine with him. Right. All right. Last one. Just because I know what it is, because he has to be better. They play a team tomorrow that they should win against the Atlanta Hawks at home. Tobias Harris.
Oh, I mean,
let's
can we put a second thing to make it go even further down, because that's Tobias Harris right now. I think And look, some of this is the fan base has been on his case for a long time. To some extent, rightfully so. He's been a big anchor.
They gave him his credit, though, at the
contract,
beginning of the year.
Yes, they did.
They did.
And he is in the midst of, I don't know if it's quite his worst stretch ever here, but it's very close if it's not, because he's everything that he's doing right. The big part of the defensive problems, right? A lot of miscommunication, some poor effort, bad rotations or no rotations in some cases, not shooting enough threes. And when he's shooting enough threes, he's not making any of them. As Derek pointed out on the show last night, you can't protect your percentages when your percentages are dog shit. That's doesn't really work that way.
Yep.
And Devon, I know you've been hammering this point early and often. You can see when he's in his own head. And I think he's just been constantly in his own head over the last 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, so it's really 3 stock down cards here. Just the line across is it's that bad right now, and he has to snap out of it. Derek is right; he typically does, and he'll have a stretch of 5 to 7 games where he's really, really good.
Yeah,
but then that's where it gets us and the Sixers fans out there the frustration, because we know you can do that, and that's where the problem ultimately comes into play. And Bree put it perfectly here. Stock up, stock down, stock way down on the chat, because it's stock way down for Tobias Harris. And I think it's pretty unanimous at this point.
Stock way down, but with Marcus, he's in the color star territory of penny stock.
Oh,
who wins that? Is it?
No, Tobias is more down because he had a higher starting point.
And we're not talking about he should be starting over Tobias Harris. This is more of the question. And yeah, the stock way down is more for Tobias Harris than it is for Marcus Morris.
Yeah, if you had to compare Tobias Harris to a Fortune 500 company, do you think you could do it? Like, what's his equivalent?
Twitter.
You said it, not me.
You can get back there if you do the right things.
Well, now it's a private company, so they're not on the stock exchange anymore.
Fair. You know. That's pretty good. And I hope this too, with all the people with the stock, because I love this. I love watching it. And I love that I'm a part of it now with the visors. If you are a true stock up, because I see it in the chat, are you also buying the visor? Are you wearing the visor when we do the stock up, stock down in the moment?
We might have to, if we need some people photos, wearing them, I might have to get us some sweatshirts or something for this specific segment.
And we need some pictures of you with your visor on.
Yeah. Here's one that actually Dan in the chat brought up that I'm curious if you guys have listened enough to have an opinion on this. Stock up, stock down on Doc Rivers as an ESPN color commentator.
I've listened because I've had time to listen.
Yeah.
Stock down.
I 100%
He's
agree.
not what he used to be. He's not what he used to be. I also wonder, because I don't know where he was at that time, where oftentimes we hear the coaches get to this spot and they don't want to say certain things. And before, it just seemed like he would say whatever.
Yeah.
On the broadcast. Right now, I feel like he's a little more careful. A little more protecting what he's saying at times. And I right now is stock down. It has nothing to do with Doris Burke. It has nothing to do with Breen. It's stock down, right? I would say right now for these games that I've heard.
Yeah, look, anytime I have to hear Doc, stock down for me.
Well, you've got a lot
Derek's
of audio.
got a little more of an adversarial relationship on with Doc than I did.
He's frustrating to listen to. I don't like the sound of his voice on a broadcast either. It's not even about what he's saying.
Whenever that clip goes viral, which happens like once a year, of him talking before a game in the 90s, it blows my mind.
I remember I showed that to you at the arena one day. It's wild. It's absolutely wild what happened to that man's voice.
It really is, man.
Wild.
This was a fun one.
We all silly like the mayor.